The idea of having an academy, a sailing centre of excellence in Weymouth, has been around for probably 35 years. Weymouth Bay and Portland Harbour offer some of the best sailing waters in Europe. Very well sheltered from the prevailing southwesterly winds, and also a very benign tidal condition, which means that effectively if you're out there sailing, A, you're very safe, and B, local knowledge becomes much less of a factor than it does in many other places around the coast of Britain. So for a long time there has been a desire to have a sailing academy based in Weymouth Bay and Portland Harbour. The land became available from the South West Regional Development Agency, and the National Sailing Academy was set up in 1999 as a not-for-profit organisation.
The Royal Navy decided to close the air station here, the helicopter base, and a number of people got together and created a not-for-profit company to try and develop a world-class sailing academy on this site.
Now, what we mean by that, of course, is that we will be making money, but all the money that we do make will be invested back into the infrastructure of the building to continue to develop it, and, of course, to develop any community involvement that we have as we go forward.
And then over the next 2 to 3 years, we worked up a project to apply for major amounts of money to redevelop the site and create what you see here today.
By 2003, the funding was in place to enable us to build the academy. The two main funders for this was the South West Regional Development Agency, who owned the land on which the building is now situated, and Sport England via the National Lottery. There were a number of other providers of significant amounts of cash, which included the Weymouth and Portland Borough Council, the Royal Yachting Association and the County Council, plus a number of donations from individuals.
This building was officially opened in June 2005. A month later, of course, there was the Olympic announcement. We had been selected as the Olympic site within the London 2012 bid, and so well, the story starts from there, really.
One of the things about sailing per se is that it is perceived as a very elitist sport, and of course when we had built the academy it wasn't particularly for the Olympics. However, it was always with the view that if the Olympics ever came to London, then the Olympic Games sailing event would be held at the academy. This all helps to engender the notion that it's a very elitist sport, and it's very difficult to people to get into. Weymouth and Portland has a number of social issues and is a fairly deprived area. So one of our big challenges, of course, is to try and ensure that the sailing academy is able to offer community access, and this is one of our biggest challenges, and one of actually the most exciting challenges, because yes, it's all very well having the most fantastic facility with Olympic sailors here and all the publicity that is associated with that, but of course one of our main aims is trying to engage with the local community.
The Chesil Trust is a registered charity, and there are some links between the Academy and the Chesil Trust. Whilst I'm employed by the Academy, I'm also clerk to the trustees of the Chesil Trust. We're careful to keep the finances and so on separate. But in the early days, certain of the organisations that we were seeking to get money from, partnership funding, would only give money to another registered charity. And so we had to find a conduit for that money to bring it into the Academy. And so the Chesil Trust is an organisation that's set up to try and develop facilities for sailing in the local area, and to provide people who might not otherwise get the opportunity of experiencing the thrills and excitement of sailing.
Interestingly, Portland, despite being an island, has very little access to the sea. So there are a large number of people on Portland who, despite being surrounded by water, have never actually been onto the sea. And of course there have been some well-publicised tragedies where people have taken boats for a late-night jaunt and ended up getting into trouble and ending up in tragedy. So one of the biggest things, ironically, is actually going on to the people of Portland and saying, look, let's get you down here, let's get you out onto the water. As an example, we do a community scheme with local schools where we try and get as many people as we can out onto the water. They pay £5 a head. Now, we've managed to get over 700 people out onto the water this year in that way. An event such as that costs around about £25 per head. So we did it in such a way that each individual child paid a fiver to make them feel some worth in it. The company that actually delivered the teaching, which is Sail Laser, with whom we partner at the Sailing Academy, they also put in £5, and the remaining £15 was raised and donated by the Chesil Trust.
For some of them, it is a life-changing experience. You know, to experience these sort of challenges, we're quite careful about looking after our children. We don't set them too many risks sometimes. They can come and undertake a challenging activity here in perfect safety, in that we provide all the necessary safety cover and tuition and so on, good quality equipment and clothing, so they're going to be entirely safe while they're doing it, but perhaps they're challenged a bit more than they are in their normal lives.
The turnover is around about £1.5 million. Now, that inevitably will increase as we gear up towards the Olympics. And one of our big challenges, of course, is to make sure that the legacy from the Olympics actually benefits the local community. And there's a lot of work going on. Next year, for instance, we'll be building another £6.5 million of extension to the shoreside activity of the Academy, which will enable us to offer a wider variety of courses and a wider variety of people being able to gain access to the centre. And that is all being funded by the Olympic Delivery Authority, which is fantastic.
To run the Olympic Games, two new